Hey everybody, welcome back to Viral Music Hub podcast. And today I have actually a returning guests, I should say. My great friends from Forge the Sun, Tristan Rosano, Ali Black. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm doing
Doing
good. How are
well.
you?
Good, good. It's been a lot of going on since I last had you guys on the podcast. It's been over a year, which just blows my mind.
Good.
And
Yeah, it's been a while.
yeah, it's pretty wild. But yeah. So you guys have come out with your first ever album. Um, how do you how are you dealing with the how is it? I'm not actually dealing, but like how has the reception been so far for Heart of the Sunrise and what you guys done so far?
I would say so far it's been pretty good. It's still freshly out. Like it only drops May 27th. So far so good.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. It's you know, just from a number standpoint, looking at the Spotify numbers, we've gotten like I think our streams went up like 6,000 or something like that. Um, so that was pretty cool. We're reaching more people.
Yeah, I
Um,
noticed that. Yeah, you actually the track Wigfee has almost 75, like almost 8,000 plays now on Spotify, which is pretty impressive.
yeah, that little bop is catching up to the proggy 8 minute song, um, which is cool because the 8 minute song's been out for like 2 years.
Yes, right,
Um,
right.
so Wikifeed dropped a few months ago, so it's kind of like, oh wow, cool.
It's kind of lapping everything at the moment.
Yeah, the rate exactly at this
Yeah.
rate. So
No, yeah, it
it's
seems like that's your most successful track to date for you guys, which is pretty cool. I do like it's a good song. I really do enjoy it. And I saw that a couple other songs have been kind of popping up the listens wise. It was when I was checking out the you guys Spotify page, and that's awesome. So
Thanks. Yeah, it's I think Witchcraft or not Witchcraft, Burn the Witch is finally past 1,000, so that's cool.
this is what happens when you have
Um,
too many witch songs.
yeah, right. All these witchy songs. Yeah, all these
There's
witches.
so much witchy, you just can't,
Which
can't keep
wasn't
track of them all.
it wasn't intentional either. It just
It just kind of
kind of
happened that
happened
way.
that way
It just,
because
yeah.
when we first started writing music, I think the very first thing that we started working on was our Frank Sinatra cover of Witchcraft. And then Tristan brought me the like kind of swampy blues rock like music of Burn the Witch. And I think witch was just kind of on my mind to use as kind of like a
Yeah.
metaphor for the music. So it really wasn't intentional. It just kind of happened that way.
So production wise, how was it for you guys first time tracking an album, whole album like that? Like describe to me kind of the experience you guys had doing that.
So it was I'm trying to think. I think we ended up knocking drums out first, and then once the drums were recorded and the drums were played to scratch tracks, once the drums were recorded, we then went with each instrument kind of one at a time. So it wasn't like a live thing; it was individual. Um, and then once we locked in all the parts, then we could, in post production, that's what they would call it. They would add like effects and stuff to it, like my guitar, like reverb or echo or whatever. And then add effects to Barrett's bass once they got his bass line tracked. So it was kind of like a kind of stacked approach to production versus kind of all at once. So I thought it was cool. It was fun. The pros to that is that you get to isolate the instruments and kind of use the freshest, tightest take. I guess the cons to it is it kind of delays the process because instead of everyone doing it all at once, it's you got to schedule like a session for vocals, a session for guitar, a session for drums, a session for bass. So it ended up taking close to like 2 years. So it or a year and a half, something like that. So but we got it done. It was proud of it. It was a fun time. we recorded at Radon Studios in Kego Harbor, which is also, it's an hour drive too. There's a little bit of a distance there.
Wow.
So yeah, so it just kind of like, yeah, it's just, you know, delayed and stuff. So it just it was a lot of time.
Yeah, seems like the scheduling was probably like the hardest part of just getting everything going together, you know.
Yeah, and I think like the expectation was like we had started recording, I think in November of 2021, I want to say. And we were thinking like, oh yeah, we're gonna get this out in spring of 2022, maybe even earlier than that, because our first like kind of experience with recording was with Nature, which we busted out Nature in like a couple days, if that.
Wow.
So we were like, yeah, we know these songs from like top to bottom, we'll get them out. And it ended up taking like a year and a half. So it's kind of like, dang, this is like a crazy process that we just put ourselves through. But overall, like I think we got a really good product. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's clear how much work you guys put into the album, you know, production wise and everything. I mean, it sounds, I mean, it sounds so clean. I think it's, I love it. I mean, it's mixed well. It's everything. It's really, really well done. It's clear that you guys actually did take the time and then rush through it. So I think it was for your guys' benefit. You didn't rush it out or anything. So yeah, it sounds like really tight, honestly. It's just a really tight sounding album. So that's really good that you guys ended up you know, getting it done, even though it was a long struggle and you know, a little different for you guys, not something you were used to. I think for your first time, you guys really knocked it out of the park. Personally, I love the album. I think it's really, really good, top to bottom.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's it's a pretty impressive for a debut. I really thought you guys found your footing already very quickly. And
Thank you.
yeah, what for you, what were some of the songs that were the hardest to like for them to come together for you guys on this?
Let's see. I would say there were some spots where like, you know, when you're playing stuff live, there's like an energy that's, it's like it's so strong, it's so powerful, and then like when you're in the studio it's different, right? And so there's things that don't translate as well in the studio. And so there'd be spots where like the song was finished and then it'd be like, oh man, like I think specifically like Burn the Witch. We usually just played the first, it's weird, it's 50, there's like the intro riff and then there's 15 bars of like riffing. 15 is kind of weird, but that's really that is what it is. It's kind of a weird number.
Yeah.
And it felt like, so it also kind
Things
of felt
like that
were difficult because they'd be just so unforeseen. So I would say that was kind of, once I started writing, it wasn't that bad, but there was kind of like well, what do we put here? Like, do we put another riff on top of the riff? Do we put a solo? We tried trimming it. It just sounded kind of shitty and awkward. And I didn't really like that because that's not how it was meant to be performed at all. So it just felt super forced. So you got to kind of like treasure hunt for that, like that thing that fits and like complements it.
Right.
So those are always the hardest because they're so hidden. So things like that. I think of another instance like Medicine, like live after the second chorus, we just like go into this big kind of have like a Kurt Cobain moment where I'm just like playing big, you know, guitar chords and live it's a lot more punk rock, but in the studio we're just like, feels like there's something really missing there. So we ended up laying guitar solo there. So little things like that, just making sure that like making sure those spots that where we, you know, we wouldn't have a guitar solo or something like that didn't feel empty, and coming up with a solution that actually was a solution, you know. So that, I feel like that's the hardest. It's a balance, you know.
That's a really interesting point about how things translate from live to not live. You know, that's really, I never thought about that really until Yeah, that's actually really interesting. I find that really cool. Well, because like sometimes it's different because some people they'll track songs then they play them live. So you guys kind of went the other way around. So yeah, then I could see how things get a little lost in translation a little bit into the studio and there's no people there, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a different like vibe. I mean, you're playing for machines, and
Yeah.
you're not playing for people, and you could gauge where the crowd's at, and you can kind of improvise a little more and like and whatnot. So I think that's a really interesting point that you make about that, Tristan.
It's harder to play. I think it's way harder to play in the studio. I think not because like I'm like afraid of a metronome, but because of like an energy thing. You're like I was just recording the other day and I had somebody sit in the room with me because after recording this album, like I learned I'll play better if there's just even a small audience in the room. Like being in this weird situation where you're almost like in like a booth or something, or like it's just weird. There's like no it's like there's no oxygen. You know what I mean? It's like a human being trying to exist without oxygen. It's like that's what playing for even like a couple people will do for you as a musician. Like for me, I don't know. Some people like get stage fright and that's why they don't perform. But for me, like I need my oxygen. I need like a little group of people, something. So it feels like I'm playing. It just feels so awkward. And it's just like you got headphones on, you're in a room, and it's like you just hear a voice over the it kind of reminds me of you played Fallout, right?
Yeah.
Remember I remember like when the ghouls are like, hey, smooth skin. There's like a little like speaker and you're just like in this room and there's like nobody, but it kind of feels like that. You're just like isolated. So when I was recording the other day, I asked like a couple guys to come down and just watch me because it's like you get energy from it. So with this album you have your guitar tech or your vocal tech or whatever, but it was definitely a learning experience. It's harder. You got to really dig deep. You got to make your own crowd like in your head. At least for me, I had to.
Oh, it definitely like goes for vocals as well. Like when you're in a studio, you're basically in a closet doing vocals. Um, so a lot of the times it's like you have to it almost seems like acting, like you have to act like the emotion out of like the song,
Oh,
and you're
yeah.
not really getting energy from like the music, like the band. Like there's just something about like singing with like a live band and also in front of people where it just pulls a little bit more out of you. So um I think like vocal wise, like it came out really well like on the album, but I've had like a lot of people, like a lot of fans even like come up to us and be like, wow, the vocals sound amazing on the album, but it's just different. Like when I'm in front of you, like, and you're singing, there's just something else that's there. So it can be difficult to replicate like that live vibe for sure.
Well, I very much agree with you on the vocals. The vocals sounded amazing. I mean, you knocked it out of the park, like to say the least. On multiple songs. I mean, they came out incredible. So I mean, and obviously I've seen you guys live, so I know how that translates there too.
Yeah.
It definitely is a different animal. You guys are a very very good live band. So yeah,
Thank you.
it's really interesting to see how you guys transition to the studio like that. That's a really neat it was a really neat talking point. I'm glad we talked about that a little bit. I think that's a good point to make for any band that's kind of thinking about making the leap into the album making if they've just been doing live shows.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm hoping we could do a live album too. That'd be kind of cool. Like almost our manager had mentioned a couple times about doing a live album, like a double album, like a double release kind of thing. We just released the studio album, so probably not for a minute, but we have a new drummer and it would be cool to, show people what it sounds like when we're playing, in a venue.
So he delayed the drum tracks for this. Or
you said what was that?
So he was your new drummer. He laid the drum tracks down for the album, right?
No, that was our old drummer.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So you
Yeah,
guys just got okay. So he's coming in to now play now. So
Yeah, I think last time we talked, Pat was the new drummer. Now he's the old drummer. It's like Spinal Tap, dude.
Oh God, you guys are like Pearl Jam. Oh geez.
Totally, dude. So Pat's out. Pat laid the drum. I think he crushed it, dude. He did an
Oh,
awesome
I
job.
100% agree. I was gonna actually make a note of that when I was talking about a couple of the songs. His drums, especially on the closer, Fight or Flight.
Oh,
He was
right on, sweet.
he was absolutely amazing on that track. I was like, that's like the one thing I was just like stood out there. I was like, holy Christ! I mean, this percussion on this is like unbelievable. The sound that he got out of it was just amazing. I thought his percussion on that was unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah, he ripped on that. So so right now, like Matt Fickney played on Nature and he played on the EP. We got Pat who played on the whole debut album. And then now we have a new drummer. His name's Isaac Parsons. He's awesome. He was in the band A Chronicle, which is like more metalcore.
Huh.
But he's super. He's more than just. I mean, he's a super musical drummer. That was one of the things that really drew me to him. Was he's really versatile and he has tons of influences and he's got the chops to play pretty much anything he puts his mind to. And those are the kind of players that I really like playing with. You know, the ones that kind of get, when they get obsessed with something, they can figure out and play it, you know, and they put their own spin on it. So Isaac's our new drummer. So it would be like, it would be cool to, you know, we'll see what happens. You know, what recordings we end up doing with him and stuff. And you know, he's a permanent member of the band now. He's in it. So I'm looking forward to the future. I think it's gonna be cool. But yeah, if you look at our discography, it's like, man, this band can't keep a drummer. What's going on?
I'll tell you, it's
YouTube videos are even crazier. It's like, dude, like a different person every time you Google us. Like we had Dan from Blood Rune Sigil play with us. We've had, oh my god, we just had this revolving door for like 6 months. Yeah. Just like,
I'm actually going to talk about,
and that was nothing, dude. Like, you said what?
I said I'm actually going to talk about that whole thing. I was actually having it in my notes here about your side projects. Right, you guys were kind of
for sure, yeah,
have been working on. But I just want to go over some of my favorite tracks on the album because I actually made a note to like kind of. I actually listened to it again right before we because I like to have it fresh in my head. But I think my favorite track, my number one probably favorite. It's because there's a lot. I like a lot of them, but I think Two Enter is like the best song you guys have ever done. Like that's
just okay, cool. I've heard that one before. All right, sweet.
I think it's one of your like cooler, heavier songs, but there's like it leads into some prog rock elements as well. And I think that's when you guys are at your best, is when you balance those two and they kind of like merge together and they form something pretty damn cool. So and that song was like a perfect fusion, I thought, of those elements.
Yeah, the ending segment of To Enter is probably by far my most favorite thing on the album. Like the song as a whole is great, but there's just something really, really freaking cool that just came together for that ending piece. And it's just so powerful and just builds up. And then you get like that space, like that open space. And then you have Barrett's dad doing his monologues.
That was Barrett's dad?
Yeah.
No, oh my god.
Totally.
Yeah, dude, I talked to Matt Fickney, our old drummer, and he was like, dude, I really like, he's like, where'd you sample that from? I was like, dude.
Uh-oh.
It was
like, holy shit, he should be an actor.
That's so funny. That's
awesome,
I never would have guessed. I was like, where did they get that from? I was like kind of wondering. I was like, oh, that was kind of neat. I was like, I wasn't expecting that little like vocal like
Ozzy Mendez, King of Kings. Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's pretty neat.
I was in the studio when he did that line, and we were like running it through for like a couple hours, just trying like different ways to do it, like try and find that right balance of like, because at first it was very like Shakespeare, like it like he was going in on it, and he was like, an actor, like when he was laying that line down. So we're just trying to find like the right balance of where he should be on that, but it was cool.
You're like Barrett's dad. You're making us look bad. You got to like chill out a little bit. like, come on, man. We're the stars
awesome.
here. We're the stars here. Hold on. That's really
Yeah.
funny.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
so funny. I love that.
Okay.
I actually really, Medicine is awesome too. That I know you guys were just talking about that before, and it was, yeah, that's definitely another one of my favorite tracks. And Barrett went absolute mental on that fucking song, to say the least. He was absolute fire. His bass line on that was amazing, and I love the sludgy riffs. You know, I can't get enough of them, so that's why I love this song. It's amazing.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that's Barrett certainly played.
And
I wrote for him very well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah, I thought he crushed it.
No. Oh, no.
Oh,
kidding.
yeah, dude,
Wow.
yeah.
Tristan wrote the bass line. The truth comes out. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Allie's vocals, obviously, on that were fantastic. That's one of, I think, my favorite vocal performances of yours ever. Actually,
Thank you.
That's, you just went crazy. I mean, in the best possible way. It was amazing.
Yeah, I think like we mentioned, like the whole like recording process, it was a long process. So I think Medicine was kind of like in the middle of when we started recording. And at that time, I was actually learning new vocal techniques, just trying to like get more grit in my voice and be able to kind of like bounce between like cleans, grit, and also, you know, even like screaming.
Yeah.
And at that point, like I was getting more comfortable with adding more grit and more power to my voice. So I think that's why that one, I think out of all the songs, was probably the song that was able to translate my current like vocal performance as it is like right now, even though like again a lot of the songs were recorded like a year and a half ago. Like my voice has evolved so much since then.
Oh yeah, no, I can definitely see like the marked improvements like on your voice, and not like you weren't good before, but you've absolutely just like went up another level. I thought on this album for sure. You're definitely getting better and better, which is really cool to see. To see your evolution like that is really cool. I thought Cheers was also a really fun song. It's actually a really different song for you guys. I thought very like a little more mellow ballad type of song, but it kind of leads up into a heavier song at the end, which I kind of like, kind of crescendos up into a, you know, little heavier song. But I love the guitar accompaniment on that as well.
Thanks. Yeah, that's I think just like and I don't know, this is just my opinion, but maybe you'd agree with this, Allie and Lawrence, but like I think one of the cool things about the album is it's all over the place, like genre wise, but like not to be like chaotic, but just because it wants to be, you know.
Yeah, well, that's why I've always appreciated about you guys is that you guys are very much like, you have a lot of different influences from everywhere. So it's your guys never have like the same song like really twice, which I always enjoyed with you guys. You guys keep it different and original with almost everything you do. So I think it definitely showed on this album. It was really, like you said, it was a lot all over the place and a lot of different types of music. I think there's really something for everybody on this, which you know, I think is the mark of a really fantastic album. So
thank you. Yeah, that's I'm glad you feel that way. That's I feel that way. I think there's for sure rock. I think there's pop for sure. I think there's metal. I think there's like even like freeform jazz. If you listen to like Interlude 2, that's just like, I don't know, it's just it's inspired by lo-fi like jazz music. Like,
so now you're speaking my language.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, and it's just drums and bass. You know, it's just grooving, just something you want to hear on like a modern rock record.
Right.
Then you have like the blues ballad, and you got So I will say I think, like you said, the way you put it, I think that's one of, in my opinion, I think that's one of the strengths of the album is it's yeah, it's got something for everybody. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's glad you dig it, dude.
And finally, I did want to say the closer again, Fight or Flight. Besides the drums, which I already mentioned were amazing, I really thought this was a great example of how you use very educated and creative use of palm mute when you're
Oh,
playing. I think that is, you are very, very good at strategically doing it. You're almost playing your own percussion almost in a way with it. And I think that's when palm muting, you know, is used right, is when you're almost playing a second percussion instrument while you're playing guitar. And I think that's one of your strengths in your playing, and I think it really showed on that song.
thank you. Yeah, I think I appreciate that. Thanks. I think, you know, dynamics are super important, and so like, um, you know, with palm muting and like, you know, because all the stuff was played live before we went into the studio. And I don't use any pedals, and like I'm still learning, right? Allie was just talking about, you know, how she's evolving as a singer and stuff. Like we're all always learning, right? Like it doesn't stop. And what I have found is dynamics is something I keep learning more and more about, and being able to play quiet and soft and use things like palm muting and attack, and like also like where to put them. I think like the tastefulness of like where to put them when they're supposed to be put somewhere, you know, like the function of them,
Right.
the utility of it. You know, if the singer's playing, you probably don't want to be like stepping on their toes and playing big, bright, open chords at the very least, even if you at least make the attempt, you know, to palm you, because it creates that kind of like warmer cushion, you know, you're not, and like you said, it creates almost like a percussive effect. So, yeah, I think that's a super underutilized just element for guitar players too. They just always playing at the same volume or playing the same way, and it's almost like they look at palm muting as more of an effect and not really like a utility.
Right.
Which it is, like it totally is. I mean, it can be an effect, but I think a lot of the time it's a utility when you're working with a vocalist, and you want to create like a dynamic arc in the song.
Right.
You know, use different parts instead of using the pick. Use your thumb. Use your, you know, control. Have like a hard pick, a medium pick, and a soft way of picking. Palm mute. You know, there's it's just, you create such a big range of volume with all those elements. So I appreciate it, man. Thanks for picking up on that. That's something I definitely work on for sure.
Yeah, I just, you know, from a guitar player's point of view, you know, you pick up on certain things, you know, when you hear certain things, because you can't listen to a song normally at that point. It's like impossible. You know how that is.
Yeah,
it's like you're just like, oh, the palm muting. It's like, and more people are looking at you like, what are you talking about?
yeah. They're like, the what?
The what
Yeah.
now? It sounds really good. It's like, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know. I'll just shut up.
Yeah.
I said arpeggio. I said arpeggio. I said the word arpeggio. I said like G minor arpeggio, and someone went, "Who? Who?" Pretty funny.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, I know what you mean, man.
That's great. I love that.
That's awesome. Who?
That's kind of the great thing about like what we've been doing and what we've been able to accomplish with being able to dive into multiple different genres and experimenting with different things, is that it kind of, especially, I mean, for me, has pushed me into learning a lot of new techniques to try and like, okay, we're going for like this type of sound. How can I emote with this music by learning like a new vocal technique that kind of fits in that world? And I think that creates a really cool listening experience for the audience. And that's something that I really appreciate about albums and music, when a band can create different sounds and different like vibes with music, but also be able to have all those songs kind of fit in the same world. I think I find that really, really cool. And that's something that I seek for as like an audience member when listening to music. But as like a player, it keeps you on your toes So you're constantly learning, constantly having to train yourself, constantly having to think of new or better ways to try and fit yourself in the world of the song that you're trying to play. So I think it just makes us better performers, better musicians every day when we try to like do something new or when we're trying to like write. But it also doesn't keep us in, it also doesn't keep us like pigeonholed into like a certain type of sound. So it's like, you know, when we move on to like the next era of like music, people aren't going to expect a certain type of thing from us. Like what they're going to expect is probably something new.
I think that's it's really great that you guys are looking to do something different every time, because I think people can tend to get comfortable in a certain groove and you guys definitely aren't like that.
So I will say this, there is a little bit of infighting among, not, I guess, I don't know if that's the right word, but like I've noticed there's like a nature crowd and then there's like a Wigfee crowd.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Yeah. Like I've noticed
Interesting.
there's like people who are like, holy shit, Medicine and Wigfee are my favorite songs. And then I know other people that are like, To Enter in Nature, I'll live and die by those. Those are like my favorite fucking songs you guys have done.
That's awesome. You already got like hardcores, only like the
Yeah,
OG
so
stuff.
like I just know people who really like the nature stuff. Like there's some people who are just like, they're not like nature's an 8-minute song, so like you kind of,
Right.
when you're not someone who just loves all music, when it's like, you go, okay, well, this is maybe a specific niche kind of crowd that's like into those long proggy songs that are heavier and like the subject matter is more allegory, and it's not really hooks, it's more of like this, almost like an album listening experience in a song. But then you have people who are like they're really into songwriting, like singer songwriter stuff, like the Wigfees and the Medicines.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny when I hear that, because I'm like, I understand both. I mean, I appreciate both people because they're supporting us regardless, but it definitely you see the kind of see the yin and the yang of what happens when you kind of do both. I'm sure like a lot of bands, run into that. I know one band that's like, you think about like a band like A Day to Remember, right? Or you think about Rush, right? You think about all these like contrasting sounds that those bands have made. Like A Day to Remember has made some really poppy songs, but then they have some like older stuff that's like super like heavy metalcore, like the heavier metalcore stuff. And then like band like Rush, where you've got like the more synthy wave stuff of like the mid to late 80s, and then you've got like the more garage rock stuff of the early days. And it's just cool because we're kind of doing it all in one album. And it's a shorter time period. We haven't put out like 7 albums or whatever. But yeah, no, it's all good stuff. Super happy that people are listening to it.
Yeah, a few quick more questions just to wrap it up here. I did want to know who are some of like the most helpful people throughout the album process that weren't in the band?
Dave, for sure.
Dave, dude, yeah, 100%. Dave paid for the whole. He financed the album, and he, yeah, I mean, the album wouldn't have happened without him. Just he financed it, and he helped with coordinating, and he was pretty calm and collected when when we weren't, right. And so he was cool. Yeah, he was the rock. He was cool as a cucumber, and he made it happen. And yeah, I would say Dave, dude. I'd say Dave 100. I don't know if there's anyone else that really comes close to that.
Wow, that's yeah, that about covers it right there. Yeah, man, financing the whole album. That's incredible. Wow, that's amazing support. That's like there's about as best support as you can ever get from anybody as a musician. So
He was definitely the glue that kept the production going and keeping us going. And also, like, I thought it was very motivational of him to be supportive like throughout the entire thing.
Like he kind of put his chips on you guys, basically. You think about it, like, yeah.
Really, really believed in the album, and he believed in us, and just constantly hearing that I believe in you guys, and I think you guys have got something really good here was really helpful. And trying our best to like make it the best that it could possibly be.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
So
thanks, Dave.
yeah, thanks, Dave. So you guys have actually been kind of doing some stuff outside of the band itself recently. You guys want to talk about that a little bit before we go?
You're talking about like the side projects?
Yeah.
Yeah, Al, you can go first.
Sure. So I am guest singing with our friends in Blood Room Sigil. So we've known the guys in Blood Room Sigil for a while, and they're actually currently working on an album right now. And I've done a couple songs with them already. I've any of their new songs that you listen to on Spotify, a couple of the live jams, plus a new song that's dropping this month called Fever Dreams. I'm on those tracks, and I really love what they're doing. Really great stuff, and I'm really excited to work on the new album that they have coming out because it's just a really cool concept. And there's a couple songs that they've done that I've heard already, and they sound really cool. So I got a lot of cool ideas for those. So I'm guest singing with them throughout the summer, and then depending on my availability going in after the summer will depend on whether or not I continue playing along with them. But hopefully I have the availability because they're just really cool to hang out with. So it's fun. And then secondly, I am singing in a project called Sharp Lives. We just started that project a couple months ago. Originally, the project was supposed to be a one-off project where I had presented the idea of doing a specific song that we've recorded and mastered already. So it's good to go. We're working on building a concept for a music video. So the date for that is already blocked out. So we're just getting ready to kind of do like a huge release on it. And while we've been working on the song, we kind of were vibing on music. We all have a lot of the same interests in the same kind of music. So other original songs just kind of like came out. So I think the idea is we're going to do an EP. We're playing Motor City Pride this Sunday, and we're playing a big show, including Forge the Sun is playing the show. It's called FemFest. It's July 7th. It's going to be a huge all-female fronted rock show. It's an all-day festival, so we're really excited for that. But yeah, Sharp Lives is just kind of like a different vibe, experimenting with different type of music. I would say it's definitely more goth rock, alternative metal, maybe even a little bit of metalcore. I'd probably say if you were to mix like Evanescence with Spirit Box and Killswitch Engage, that's what it's going to be. There's definitely a lot more screaming that happens. So it's kind of pushing me to learn even better techniques so I don't destroy my voice.
Very cool. It's like a challenge for you almost.
Yeah.
It's a little different. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I got to play like Dave Mustaine in this tribute band I joined, so that's pretty awesome.
Listen, it doesn't get much better than that,
dude. It's like I made it, man. That's it. I'll be in my trailer. You know what I mean? So that's pretty fun, dude. I've never been in a tribute band, so that's super fun, and the music's challenging. And that was actually the biggest reason I joined, was because I wanted to get better at just everything. I wanted to improve like my ability to learn by ear. I wanted to improve my ability to like learn large. Like we learn a lot of songs in Forge the Sun, but like some of those like metal tunes are so layered, they're actually kind of proggy. Like I think some of the Megadeth songs out there are absolutely prog.
Oh yeah,
like I think I consider Holy Wars prog.
Oh god, yeah. It's funny you mentioned that. I literally just listened to that song like
fuck yeah
the other day at work. I was like, yes,
mistake.
Yes, yeah, no, they definitely are. It's definitely, there's definitely a lot of prog elements on that, and that album in general is
absolutely dude. So
fucking believable. But
oh my god, dude.
So you also have to master the act of complaining about Metallica every like week.
No. Oh dude, yeah, I gotta do I gotta embody the whole thing. So it's fun, dude. And like the guys in that band are super, like they're great musicians. Like oh man, I'm just it's really fun playing with them. So and like I've discovered new music. I wasn't into Slayer as much. Now I'm like, holy shit, Slayer kicks ass. Like, and my favorite band is Mastodon. If you kind of look at my wall here, see if I can flip this around. I've got like my Leviathan and my Remission that are both signed by all the members. That's my favorite band. It's been my favorite band since high school. Well, Brent Hines, one of the guitar players in that band, his favorite band is Slayer, and it's really cool when you like track the lineage of players, and it's like Mastodon makes way more sense now that I've learned a ton of Slayer. So
yeah,
that's super cool, dude. I like that stuff. So that's really fun. And then I'm also with Allie. I'm in Blood Rune Sigil, so like I'm like the guitar player. But I've recorded one track with them. It's not released yet, but that's super fun. Actually, 2 tracks. There's like an instrumental that's gonna be released, and then there's it goes into the next track, which is an epic like proggy song, and Allie's doing vocals on that. I like jamming with those guys a lot because they're like of the mindset. They're on like they're kind of like, I'm really into like 70s like blues rock. I love that stuff. I love the dirtiness of those records too. So they're really into that as well. So I get to experiment with that and get into that more with them. And it's a different process. The guy we're recording with is super cool. His name's Paul. Is it Paul Smith, Allie?
I think so.
He's in the band The Strains. They're a pretty big like local Detroit band. They got a huge following in Detroit. So if you get a chance, check out The Strains. They're more like, they're punk rock, but he's a really good producer. And he's into that, that analog, the analog old school approach to recording. And I'm into a lot of Detroit rock. And I was just playing through an amp, and he's like, oh yeah, one of these amps was owned by the guy in Rockets. And I'm like, holy shit, dude, I was just listening to one of those records. He's like, yeah, man. Yeah, and it was just cool, dude. Like, we were just we ref bat, we just connected on a lot of music. So the guys in Blood Rune Sigil and the guy we're working with, we're into a lot like the 70s production, the 70s style, the cross pollinating of genres that was still happening kind of back then. It wouldn't be uncommon that you'd put on a rock record and you'd like, I listened to Yes is uncommon, but so it's not a great example, but I listened to Yes, and like Fragile, there's like a Brahms arrangement for piano that Rick Wakeman does, like, just, they didn't really give a shit back then. It was just like any genre was fair game. And so I really like the records that were being put out back then. ZZ Top, same way, dude. It's like they were doing the blues thing, but they were also doing the rock thing and also doing their weird kind of thing that made them ZZ Top. Black Sabbath, same way. It's like you hear the jazz and blues influences, but it's also metal. And I love that.
It's funny because Black Sabbath's like first album like is actually a lot more like bluesy than metal actually.
100%, dude.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting to kind of see how they evolved, and kind of changed the sound after that. But it's just still great record, but it's a little different. But
I love those first 5 records, dude. I mean, I'm actually not a huge fan of volume. Volume 4?
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not that I hate it or anything. I just it's like
it's the weakest out of the 5.
Oh, dude, it's like weird. It's like I can't really, usually, I don't know. Usually it's more linear than that with me for bands. Like once they start putting out, in my opinion, kind of like shittier albums, I kind of just like, I'm like, there's a period. And then after that, I really don't,
Yeah.
With Black Sabbath, like, I'm not really into volume 4, but then all of a sudden, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, I'm back, baby.
I'm back.
Woo! Like, hey,
I'm back.
Party go, guys. So yeah, it's a funny occurrence. I mean, it is a good album. It's just, it's like Black Sabbath, Paranoid, Master Reality, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is my favorite album. I actually love Heaven and Hell. That's like one of my favorite Black Sabbath records.
Oh yeah.
Because you can hear that everybody in that band has like a breath of fresh air in them. They're just like, oh, okay, like, all right, new guy, new chapter. Like, it's just, you can hear and they're playing. I like Sabotage too, and like those last couple albums, I don't know. I just feel like they want Ozzy out of the band so badly. I can hear the turmoil on those albums.
Yeah, it was a mess,
So,
to say the least.
Yeah. So, anyways, I got on a Jesus. Anyways,
listen,
yeah. So,
I
Brother
could.
and Sister on the tribute band, man. So it's cool stuff, dude. It's good music scene here in Detroit. It's a great music scene in Detroit. So a lot of people looking to make art together, and it's always great. So it's a fun time.
It really was an eye-opening experience when I went and saw you guys, and everybody else that was there. Yeah, it seems like a really cool community of musicians there, and I'm definitely very excited to come back at some point in the future.
Oh yeah, when you
myself.
come back, dude.
We're gonna see. It's a TVA. So
Okay,
it's a
let us
TVA
know.
right now. So maybe not this year, but we'll see.
Oh, not this year.
Well, listen, I gotta fashionably late, but
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, James Bond. All right, gotcha.
but
Maybe we'll come out to you sometime.
see,
'cause
like, and that's what I was starting to say, like touring. That was the one
Yeah.
last thing I wanted to ask you guys. So are you guys planning on going like kind of outside the bubble?
Yeah,
Wow,
we're in the
that's
process of putting one together for late August. We've got Atlanta, Georgia, and Nashville booked for sure. Tristan, was there anything else that we got locked in?
I talked to another. Yeah, I think we have another Tennessee date. We have so I think we have. There's one that's like pretty much like locked in. I talked to the guy the other day about it, the booker. So right now, realistically speaking, it's Allie got the Nashville date. I got a Tennessee date. That's not in Nashville. It's somewhere else. I can't remember where it is, but it's I think it's more south. I forgot what city it was. But so 2 Tennessee dates, right? Nashville and then wherever else. Atlanta. And then I think Isaac's got a Cincy date locked in too. I think he got a Cincinnati date locked in. There's this like, God, the venue looks like a trip. It's like an underground venue. It's really trippy. Yeah, it's trippy, and it's like the walls it's round, like a tube. It's really bizarre.
That's wild. Oh my God.
Yeah, and he was like talking to one of the bands, and he was like, "Would you guys want to play there?" And like, we've been trying to play there for months. So it's like it's a cool place. It's people are. It's a cool looking venue. So I think right now, yeah, it's looking like. I think we've got like 4 locked in pretty much, and then we're trying to add a Cleveland or a Kentucky date. It really, we're trying to do this. It's all DIY, and we got to think about cost and stuff. And we're trying to hit things up on the way instead of having to do a zigzag, because that just ends up making things like,
oh yeah, very complicated.
yeah, it's more expensive, and it's like you want things. It just makes a trip longer too. Your trip's gonna be way longer doing that versus just like, oh, okay, we're just like, one city over or whatever. Yeah, that's towards the end of August. So let's see, Lawrence, where are you at right now?
Back in Connecticut.
Okay, right on. Well, maybe we'll make our way a little closer there.
I'll shoot you guys the venues that you got to go to.
Okay, hell yeah.
We'll talk.
All right, hell yeah, sweet. Well, yeah, sounds good. That'll be fun.
That's so exciting. I'm honestly so excited for you guys. It's been amazing,
Thanks.
honestly, watching you guys grow.
Thanks for being part of it, man.
Year and a half or so. Yeah, I think there's really big things for you guys in the future. I think you guys are going to make it pretty big. It feels like there's a building. There's something building here long term. And yeah, I'm just really excited, and it was really great to catch up with you guys again.
Likewise, dude.
Everybody listen to Part of the Sunrise. It's fantastic. Go on Spotify, Forge the Sun. Listen to this album ASAP. It's amazing.
Thank you. Thanks for the plug, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course, guys. Again, thank you everybody for listening. It was great having these guys back on again. We'll see you whenever I get the chance to do another episode.
Absolutely, yeah. Dude, keep doing them, man. I love this podcast. I love listening to it.
I appreciate the support from you guys as well. So I thank you, and I thank you all who do listen. And I'll see you guys soon.
All right, see you soon. Rock on.